Whoa there. Whoa.
Whoa.
Okay. Howdy, partners. We were just over there in Dardanelle in Yale County, and we got ourselves a tale.
Howdy, y'all.
So, we're going to talk about True Grit, the 1969 version, and then the 2010 version. How you doing, Mia?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And I'm going to drop this here accent right now, because it's going to get real old real quick.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so, True Grit. This is one that, previous incarnation of Refried Scenes refused to do because of one John Wayne. But
Now, who are you talking about? Who refused to do it?
this could be Seed. Yeah, it could be Seed. You know what? It's Seed. Yeah, he did not like John Wayne, so we took True Grit off the list.
I didn't realize that about
Yeah.
Seed.
We'll get into the reasons why, because I kind of agree.
Yeah.
But with this version, we put it back on the list, and what do you know? We hit it. So, True Grit, 1969.
Now, previous to the research for this podcast, I had seen both versions already numerous times, but never really compared the two.
Yeah, I do not think I had seen the 69 version all the way through. And I think I know why. And we'll get into that in a moment. So let's start with the 1969 version, of course, starring John Wayne.
The original.
Yep. Glenn Campbell. And Kim Darby as Maddie Ross.
She's just adorable.
Who is your protagonist here. We open with the Ross family. Pa Ross is going to buy some horses. And he's taking along with him one of his workers, Tom Chaney, who has a black gunpowder mark on his face from apparently a previous run-in previous altercation with somebody. But they go into Fort Smith, which is also in Arkansas. I'm going to say where this take place because this movie moves geographically long distances. Because Dardanelle in Yale County is in Arkansas, as is Fort Smith. And then when they go to find Tom Chaney, they go into Oklahoma in the book. Now, I have not read the book, but the book takes place in Arkansas and Oklahoma. Here we start in Arkansas, and he goes to Fort Smith with Tom Chaney. They get into an altercation after Tom Chaney loses money at the saloon, and Chaney shoots him dead in the street and makes off with his horse and 2 gold pieces. California gold pieces, because we're gonna...
Yeah, they specify that it is
California gold. And Maddie is told that her father is dead. She is not happy with the way the law is handling the situation. So she goes to Fort Smith to claim her father's body and his belongings, and decides on her own to hire somebody to go look for Tom Chaney, because she does not feel that the law is searching for him adequately.
She just stole my heart, you know? She's one of those, I'm not taking what the man tells me
right
at face value. I am going to do things my way.
She barters with the person who her father was buying horses from, gets him to buy the horses back and pay for the stolen horse.
And you get the feeling that they take this offer just to shut her up.
Just to shut her up and get her out of the room.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things are done to shut Maddie up and get her out of the room.
Yeah.
And she takes that money and she goes to hire a ranger. And is he a ranger? No, he is
the marshal?
He's a marshal. Yeah.
Cogburn? Yeah.
Cogburn's a marshal. LaBeef is the ranger.
Right.
So she goes to hire a marshal. And they're...
Not just a marshal.
She hires one with true grit. We have a title. And that is Rooster Cogburn, played here by John Wayne. Rooster is more in the line of shoot him first and ask questions later. Or more like shoot him first and then testify about it on the stand. Because they tend to just let him kill whoever. He doesn't seem to be a take 'em alive type person.
No, I mean, you have to figure back in those days, everybody had the guns and were ready to fire the guns.
Yeah.
So you had to be the one that shot first. really. And if you wanted to have a long life.
And she's staying at a boarding house, and also staying at the boarding house is LaBeef, who is a Texas Ranger, played by Glenn Campbell here.
It really bothers me that he wants to be called Beef. It really bothers me.
It's spelled LaBeouf.
It's a French name. It's LaBeouf.
It's LaBeouf. But he prefers beef.
Ugh.
And he is, in this version, so creepy.
He is the ranger of Creepy Town.
Yeah, he immediately tells Maddie that, he had a mind to put a kiss on her, even though she was young and ugly. And unattractive. Sorry, she was just...
I mean, it's...
And Maddie is 14. We have to say here, Maddie is 14 years old.
This is where the internet trolls got it from.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
So,
Yuck.
Yeah, he is incredibly creepy. And he is also looking for Cheney. Because Cheney, apparently, before working at the Ross Farm, shot a Texas senator. And his dog. His dog.
See, I'm glad you told me that. Because I didn't pick up that he was also looking for Cheney
he
with
was
his own motive.
Yeah, he was looking for Clemsford, because that was Cheney's name when he was in Texas. So, yeah, he's looking for the same guy. For shooting a senator. And he decides to just team up with Cogburn. And why not just go look for himself? Maddie insists that she is going with them.
Yeah, they try to ditch her.
Yeah, they do try to ditch her. And she's having none of it. They try to ditch her at the river ferry. And she has purchased a horse from the man that bought all the horses back from her, that her father purchased. That is actually an incredible scene in both movies, her and the horse seller. But she purchased Little Blackie.
Yeah, she loves that horse.
Yeah, and she just rides him across the river, and they're not gonna ditch her. And here is one of the more uncomfortable scenes, because Beef just pulls her off her horse and spanks her.
Yeah, numerous times he's trying to make sure that it's uncomfortable for her to ride a horse.
Right. With his hand and then with a branch. And it's just, it comes across as incredibly creepy. It
comes across as a man spanking a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah, which is exactly what it is. It's ew. But that doesn't matter, because she's going to follow them anyway. And here is where the movie kind of transports itself, because this is supposed to be Arkansas. But those are the Rocky Mountains that they're riding through.
There are several sprawling landscape, 3 people on a horse.
Yeah.
There's music, a score going on, and you're taking in the landscape to really,
excuse me,
relay distance traveled for the viewer.
Right.
And there's too many of those.
Way too many of them. But it is very obviously Colorado. Very obviously Colorado.
I have not been to Colorado, so they could have fooled me.
Yeah. Excuse me, I am getting over a sinus infection, so I may cough a few times. I grew up in Colorado. I recognize the mountains. So it's like, this is definitely not Oklahoma. But they're riding to find Cheney, and they're going to bed down at a hut that Rooster knows of. When they come across, the hut is occupied. It's occupied by 2 men, Moon and Quincy, who Rooster says used to run with, who he believes Cheney is with, and that is Little Ned Pepper. Little Ned Pepper. And I remember that because Barry Pepper plays him in the remake. And I was like, oh, they got the guy with the same last name. But Little Ned Pepper. And they believe Cheney's running with him. And these 2 are cohorts of Pepper. So they smoke him out of the little hut. One of them is wounded, played by Dennis Hopper, Moon.
That was Dennis Hopper.
That was Dennis Hopper.
I didn't even know it.
And he's wounded. And Cogburn basically uses that wound against him to get him to admit to where Pepper and Cheney are. And at that point, his Quincy, his partner there, who tells him to shut up and not say anything, stabs Moon. and Cogburn shoots Quincy.
Imagine that. Bandits turning against each other.
Yeah, imagine that. But with his dying breath, Moon tells him that he saw Pepper, or they were supposed to meet at that hut and rehorse Pepper's gang. So they lie in wait there.
Yeah, they know they're on the right track.
Right.
To Cheney. And that's important to Maddie. But it's also, this is also a dynamics thing. Because she's between this beef guy that's a creeper and Cogburn, who she really admires, but he's got a bit of an alcohol problem.
A tiny bit. Tiny bottle.
tiny
bottle after tiny bottle.
Yeah, so that's what I enjoy about this movie. But go on.
Yeah, but they lie in wait, and they do ambush Pepper's gang, but Cheney's not with them at that point. They do shoot a couple of them, but Pepper gets away. Pepper is played by Robert Duvall, who I believe went bald at 10. Because he has to be in his mid-20s, late 20s here, and he just has that Robert Duvall hairline.
He's very handsome, too.
He's very handsome, but I think he just went bald at 10.
Yeah, I like bald guys, so
yes, yeah, I don't care. I don't care about the hair. On the face. I like it on the face. But anyway, we digress. Either way, the ambush is kind of a failure. Pepper gets away. And they go off to chase them. And here you get the happenstance. Because they're about to just give up because the trail has gone cold. And Maddie goes down to a river. She wakes up early. Goes down to the river to get some water. And who is at that river? But Tom Cheney.
Yeah,
watering his horse. And here is the best scene of the movie. Where she pulls a gun because she has been carrying around this huge ass revolver.
I don't know. I can't believe we didn't mention that yet.
Yeah, her dad's revolver.
It weighs half. It's half of her body.
It must be about 14 inches long. She pulls it out of a flour sack that she has been carrying it in, and Tom Cheney is just like, "Is that Maddie? Little Maddie, the bookkeeper?
Hey, I know you.
I know you." And he's like, "What are you gonna do? Shoot me?" He's like, "We gotta cock the gun back all the way back." He's like, "I know how to use it." And then she shoots him, and he's just like, "Well, I didn't think you would do it."
I really love that scene in both versions.
Yeah, it's kind of hilarious because he's just shocked that she just shot him.
And really, nobody, unless you know Maddie, you really wouldn't think that she is going to pull the trigger. I think you have to know her just sheer will to get the job done in order to believe that she would shoot him.
Yeah. And that, of course, wakes up Rooster and Beef. And they come running, but at this point, her gun is not firing again because it knocked her back into the water, and that thing's not firing again. So Cheney grabs her and basically takes her hostage and brings her to Pepper. And Pepper kind of beats her up a little bit to get her to say that there's only two guys out there, a marshal and a ranger, and he knows who Cogburn is. So
she says his name, I think, right?
Or she does say Marshal Rooster Cogburn, and Texas Ranger Little Beef, and Little Beef. And he
Rooster and Beef, man. I'm with Rooster and Beef.
It's a whole buffet of meat. He yells to Rooster saying that he will let her go in 5 minutes. He has to leave. He has to see them leave, and then he'll let her go in 5 minutes. Or he has to see them leave in 5 minutes, and then he'll let her go. So, Rooster, they concoct a plan. You don't know what the plan is because you're with Maddie at this point. And Maddie believes that they have actually abandoned her to this bunch of ruffians. And Pepper tells Cheney to watch over her while they go, I think they're going to a farmhouse to recoup or something. And he's like, later on, we'll come back for you, but you can't hurt her because, this part, to me, in both versions is kind of, I don't know why he's keeping her alive at this point. I know he gave his word, but it's the word of an outlaw.
There's something said about there being in Indian territory, so there's these variables where they don't know if Indians are going to attack them or
they're in Choctaw territory. Yeah,
that sort of a thing.
Anyway, he leaves Maddie alone with Cheney, and he rides off, thinking that LaBeef and Rooster Cogburn have kind of just left. Cheney is not going to let Maddie alive. He decides he's going to kill her.
Cheney's a dick.
He is. Yeah.
That's the message we're
he's
going
also
for
he's
right
a
here.
whiny dick too. He's like, oh, bad things happen to me all the time. Woe be me.
He's
Dude,
forever
you
the
shoot
victim.
people in the street. And he ends up throwing her into this pit where there are rattlesnakes. And she breaks her arm. And she finds out that... before he throws her into the pit... No, actually, this is after he throws her into... Or after, okay.
I thought he pushed her and she kind of
I'm getting the two
into
confluted. I'm getting the two...
Confused.
Confluted?
Confluted should
I made
be
a word.
It should be a word.
Cheney is about to kill her when LaBeef comes up
Oh, right.
and tackles him and throws him aside, and then they watch as Rooster does a one man against four against Pepper's gang, and they ride at each other, Old West fashion, reins in his mouth, two guns blazing.
Very, very heroic, sis.
Very heroic. And little sister.
Now, sis, I'm gonna ride.
He calls her sister the entire time. It's kind of weird.
It's so that we know there's not a romantic interest.
Yeah.
So that we know he's not Creepster Ranger
That's
Beef.
Totally the Texas Ranger. But he rides at them and shoots them dead, except for Pepper, who shoots Cogburn's horse, which falls on top of him, and is about to kill Cogburn when LaBeef makes that shot 400 yards and kills Pepper. And then Tom Cheney, who had previously been knocked out, wakes up and hits LaBeef in the head with a rock. And Maddie ends up taking the pistol and shooting Cheney dead. And as she shoots him, she falls backwards into this pit of rattlesnakes. So LaBeef is unconscious because he'd been hit in the head with a rock. Cheney's dead. She's in a rattlesnake pit. Cogburn finds her and she's like, I broke my arm, I can't climb up. So he ropes down to her.
I've been harassing the ratrattlesnakes down here.
Yeah, I've been hitting them with
sure they're
sticks.
getting real agitated at me.
I've had crosswords with them. I've hit them with sticks. Could you please go down? But anyway, they bite her. They bite her pretty good. And he climbs down, and in his last heroic deed, LaBeef pulls them up with his horse and then dies because we're done with him, so we don't need him around anymore. The way they
he was going for the award.
Yeah, it's he just heroically dies. They just leave him there sprawled, and as Cogburn races to get Maddie to somewhere for a doctor to save her because she has been bit by rattlesnakes, and they take little Blackie because Cogburn's horse is dead, and he just runs little Blackie until Blackie can't run no more and dies, and then he carries her heroically the last few miles, I guess.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, we could have been feet.
He says in the remake, he says we got miles left to go, so at least you know that.
Yeah,
but in the original, I don't remember any dialogue about it.
But he gets her to the doctor in time, and all is well. She just we cut to her back in Dardanelle in Yell County. At their farm, where she tells Cogburn that she's keeping a place in their family graveyard for him.
Yeah, does she tell him that in a letter? Or is it narration?
Here it's narration, because they actually have a scene by the graveyard. And she tells him, I'm keeping a spot. Well, that's for you and your family there, little sister.
All right, so...
And that's the end. He jumps a fence because, she tells him he's too old and fat to do it.
Well, enlighten us about John Wayne.
Ugh. Okay, John Wayne is a very one-note actor. It's the same inflection on every single line, and I think this is why I've never watched this movie from beginning to end. Because it
gets so old.
Yeah, after half this movie, we watched this in 2 parts, because after the first hour, I was tired of hearing him say lines in the same exact way. Didn't matter if angry or happy or anxious, it's just the same inflection on every little line. And it just grew very old.
Yeah. The pacing is terrible in this movie. In part because of these landscape musical score scenes.
Which are pretty... That's pretty common for westerns in the 50s and 60s.
I could see 1. Maybe even 2.
Yeah, but
how
here
many
it's
does this
just...
one have?
This
4?
one has like
5?
6 or 7, where they're just like,
just
let's show the beautiful mountains, and they're freaking beautiful.
They are beautiful. We know they're traveling distance.
But it just goes on. And I have to say, okay, originally Glenn Campbell's part was supposed to be played by Elvis Presley, which I think would have even been creepier, owing to the part that Presley married Priscilla when she was, 15? That would have been an icky dynamic. But Presley wanted billing above John Wayne, and they said no. So they went with a lesser singer, Glenn Campbell, who also sang the theme to this, which is not good. It's really not good.
Listen, I am never a fan of a song written for the movie with lyrics that just spell out what happens in the movie.
Yeah.
And then they play that movie in the opening credits. Like, I'm just never a fan of that.
Yeah. I will say I liked Kim Darby.
Oh, yes. I loved Kim Darby. I like Maddie Ross as a character.
Yeah. She has an incredibly... In both versions, and I think it's because... I'm assuming it's this way in the book. Maddie has a very clipped way of speaking. And a very quick way of speaking. And it's just very forceful and quick. And she's just in your face about everything. And
yes.
I like the character.
She talks a lot. She knows what she's got passion behind what she's saying. And then she's trying also to have these 2 men get along that wouldn't normally get along.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but
yeah, I do like Kim Darby as Maddie Ross. But here, I have a problem with westerns in the 50s and 60s. I just find them too clean. This one opens with a murder in the street and then a hanging of 3 people, and it still just seems like bright and cheerful and peppy for some strange reason. It doesn't seem...
I didn't get peppy, but I mean, it isn't as violent as it could have been.
It doesn't... The color scheme doesn't seem to match the dour tone of the story. Because this is a 14-year-old girl going to find her father's murderer. And here, with the music swelling every time the horses, they show vistas, it's like it's treated like a grand adventure. And it's like... I don't know. That just... It's just so 60s.
Well, don't you think that is to show that this is really one of the highlights of Maddie's life?
Probably, yes.
This time she got away from town and had something to do, had a mission
by rattlesnakes
to go for, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't know. It just... Maybe it's because I watched the remake right after it, and the remake gets the tone so correct.
Comparing the two, the original doesn't really get seasons,
it's all...
or weather changes at all.
It's all bright and sunny.
It's all bright and sunny. Or, I think there's 1 or 2 scenes at night.
Yeah, but
it's
even
then, so
night.
we only know it's cold because one time somebody said it was cold. You know?
But it does, but there's no actual... Because they're shown just in their standard clothes the the time. There's no bundling up and whatever or whatever.
There's no rain. There's no smoke from their mouths when they're speaking.
It's a very Hollywood Western.
Yeah.
And a couple of times they very obviously walk onto a soundstage. This movie is, however, if you're a Trekkie, this is just a plethora of original series guest stars in this movie. I counted like 5 of them, so if you're a Trekkie, go watch the original True Grit and pick out all the little, not just Kim Darby, but a whole bunch of people that show up in the original series. But that is the 1969 version of True Grit. So let's fast forward to 2010, and we have the Coen brothers.
That was just the other day.
I know. That can't be 11 years ago. The Coen brothers take on True Grit. And this one stars Jeff Bridges as Rooster Cogburn.
Love him.
Matt Damon as LaBeef.
And I forgot that he was in it until his scene. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot he plays Beef.
And I'm going to butcher her name. Is it Haley
Steinsfeld
as Maddie Ross. I only know her as, pop star. It's just surprising because this movie was actually nominated for 10 Oscars. Incidentally,
she nailed that role.
Yeah, the 1969 version won John Wayne, I think, his only Oscar for doing the same thing that he's done in countless other films. But here, this one was nominated for 10 Oscars. It didn't win any.
No? I thought she won.
No.
Really?
Yeah, did not win any of them. But Bridges was nominated, she was nominated, and then, of course, directing, Best Picture, Best Adapted, I think. But it didn't win anything, because it's the Coen brothers. And they can't give them all of the awards, can they? But this follows basically the same story. Couple of key changes. We do not open with meeting Mr. Ross. We open with him dead on the street. And we have a voiceover. We have narration from older Maddie saying this is what happened. And she explains that her father and Cheney went to buy horses and Cheney gunned him down in the street. And she went to go claim his body. And she goes to Fort Smith. And it follows the same beast. She barters with the horse seller, hires Rooster Cogburn, and meets LaBeef at the boarding house.
And you see him on trial.
Yes, you see Cogburn in a trial scene. This is the start. Here it fits very well. Jeff Bridges has a very mushy mouth way of talking. And here it fits the character. So I don't mind it so much here. There are some roles he took after this where he kept that same mushy mouth, and I'm like, oh, come on. I know you can enunciate. But here, Rooster's far less a heroic type character. He's a drunk. Lives in the back of a Chinese shop, a Chinese grocery store, basically, and he doesn't spend his money on whiskey because he confiscates the whiskey. And yeah, she hires him. She kind of reluctantly hires him.
Reluctantly, pushy, I would say.
Well, it's here she asks who the best marshals are, and Cogburn is not listed as the best. He is listed as one of the more ruthless, and that's why she goes to him.
Cogburn, I hear you've got true grit.
Yep, that's said in both movies. And once again, LaBeef is like, well, I'll just tag along because I'm looking for the same dude. And here they just start without her. They don't leave her at the ferry. They just leave the town without her, and she has to run to catch up with them. And we again get the uncomfortable scene of LaBeef. Here he just tackles her off the horse and spanks her.
She's a larger framed woman than
Kim Darby.
Girl, I guess I should say. I'm sorry, but either way, she's larger framed than Kim Darby. So
it didn't look quite as. It's still uncomfortable because you got a grown man spanking a 14-year-old, and but here it doesn't come off as creepy.
No.
It comes off more misogynistic than anything else. He doesn't think highly of her at all.
No, and I think it's more obvious that because he does more the back of her thighs, and her buttocks, as opposed to just her ass. Butt. So it's more obvious that it's like making it uncomfortable for her to ride the horse.
Yeah, but she's having none of it. Here we get a fallout before the hut scene. LaBeef leaves. He's decided he does not want to ride with a young girl, and he thinks this is silly, and he's going to go on his own and find Cheney. So he leaves, and Cogburn and Maddie get to the hut where Moon and Quincy are, and we realize that Moon was played by
Domino Gleeson. I was like, hold on now.
Who just seems to be everywhere.
Is that Domino Gleeson? And I looked at the IMDb because I knew I had to be wrong. I was like, there's no way Domino Gleeson is in this movie.
Oh, yes. Yes, he is.
There he was.
There he is. Small part is Moon. Doesn't last long. This is far more violent than the 1969 version here. Quincy chops his fingers off and then stabs him in the heart, and then Cogburn blows Quincy's head across a wall. So, yeah, we get actual violence here.
Yeah, and you can tell it's cold outside, and it's nighttime. They have the oil lamps.
And it's snowing. And it's snowing at the hut scene. So it's the beginning of winter.
Yeah, and they really do a good job at setting the scene, you know.
And this was obviously filmed in Oklahoma and Arkansas, because you don't have the Rocky Mountains just looming right over you. So they smoke out the Moon and Quincy, and the scene progresses kind of the same, where he uses Moon's wound against him, gets him to admit what was going on. Moon is dead, Quincy's dead. Then they go to ambush. They go up on a ridge to see if they can ambush Ned Pepper's gang. But LaBeef gets there first.
It's just, this is filmed so much better. Like, I had intrigue and investment in the characters watching this one, even knowing what was going to happen because I'd seen the original. I cared.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe it's just that the set design and the acting is so much better in the remake that I was in the movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There was so much annoyances in the original that it just kept me out of the movie.
And here, LaBeef shows up first, and he actually goes to talk to Pepper's gang. Well, he's a Texas Marshal, so he just strolls out there. Yeah, I'm looking for this person. I'm going to take him back to Texas. And, of course, they just start shooting at him and dragging him behind a horse. And Cogburn shoots two of the guys, and then very likely accidentally shoots LaBeef in the shoulder. We're not quite sure who shot that bullet, but we're pretty sure it was Cogburn. But they save LaBeef.
There's tension between the two fellas.
Yeah, they don't like each other much. They save LaBeef. LaBeef is injured, but can still go on. And then, this kind of follows the same path to Maddie going down to the water, and there's Tom Cheney. This is the first time in this movie you see Tom Cheney, I think. Yeah, so it's very late in the film.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin shows up as Tom Cheney.
With before all the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Still cut, but, you know.
Yeah. And we get the same scenes, like, cock it all the way back. Cock it just, and then she shoots him, and he's like, I didn't think you'd do it. You're showing
and
me.
I love her. She said, well, what do you think now?
And then he takes Maddie back to Pepper, who's played by Barry Pepper, which just, I don't know, it struck me as funny.
His makeup is not done so well, in my opinion.
No, I think his teeth change a couple of different times.
They move when he's talking.
Yeah, because they're very obviously fake. Pepper, in both versions, Cogburn had wounded him, had shot him in the face, so his lips are scarred.
And his mouth is always open.
Yeah. So here they try and, like, mess up Barry Pepper's teeth, but it doesn't quite work. And in a couple of scenes, particularly where he has long stretches of dialogue, I could tell he wasn't wearing the false teeth.
There were times where he was talking and I could see the teeth move with his lips.
Yeah. So, obviously they were having some dialogue problems with Pepper in those false teeth. I think it was completely unnecessary to do that. They're, like, really gross. And it's like, I get it. You know, he doesn't have Crest and a toothbrush with him. But I'm willing to put that aside if I can understand what the hell he's saying and not see his fake teeth move.
Yeah, they could just make his face dirty or something.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Or just grime up his regular old teeth. It's because some of them are, like, pointed. It's just, it was not... Barry Pepper's not a great actor to begin with, I don't think. I've never seen him in anything that he's been spectacular in. And here he's okay. He's no Robert Duvall. But that was just an unnecessary... It just seemed unnecessary to me. And I don't get it. I'm assuming it's from the book. One of Pepper's gang makes barnyard sounds. He doesn't talk. He's just, like, clucking like a chicken and mooing like a cow. And one of the guys is like, "Yay, Harris, do the cow now." And that's all you hear from this dude. Until Cogburn shoots him dead. It's just like cow noises or chicken noises. And I'm like, okay.
I think it adds that element of, like, wild card, you know? You don't know what this dude's gonna do. You just want to stay away from him.
But yeah, in both versions, that character does nothing but barnyard sounds. And we get the ride-off between Pepper's gang and Rooster Cogburn.
And again, I was invested in this.
Yeah.
And in the original, I was like, snooze.
And what's weird is it's filmed almost exactly the same way. Bridges puts the reins in his mouth, two gunning, but somehow this is far less heroically filmed than the original. It's not, pun intended, this is a far grittier True Grit. And you actually believe the action is happening. So, yeah, you get the fight off. LaBeouf gets hit in the head by Cheney after shooting Pepper. And Maddie shoots Cheney dead and then falls into the pit with the rattlesnake. Here she's not as blatantly, like, flailing and smacking the snake.
She hits, but she goes... As she's rolling down into this cliff,
I think it's just like a hole.
She hits, a few places along the wall of the rocks. So you can totally believe that she had broken her arm.
Yeah.
The first one, you're just like, really? Where did you break your arm?
She just fell 6 feet.
I didn't see that.
She fell 6 feet into a cushion.
And this time you're like, oh, you
she's
only
hanging
broke
upside
an
down.
arm? Good for you.
Yeah, because she's hanging upside down. She's got her leg caught up in some vines. And she can't actually free herself. So, Cogburn comes down to free her. She gets bit. LaBeouf pulls them back up to safety. Here he doesn't die. Which, thank you, because the 69 version is just like, yes, I will get up and pull my horse and get you guys to safety, and then, here they just leave him. And that's the last you see of LaBeouf. It's just like, Cogburn says, I'll send help for you.
They just kind of go off as they have now grown a mutual respect for each other.
Right.
One in which, hey, Kate, we don't ever have to work together again.
And
but you
their
do
job
your
is
thing.
done.
You do your thing over there. I'm going to do my thing in another direction.
Cheney's dead.
Peace be with you, bro.
You can take Cheney's body back to Texas. But Rooster takes little Blackie and rides him till he's dead. Here it's a bit more dramatic because he does actually put the horse down. In the John Wayne version, the horse just falls over and he just leaves it there. It's like, Jesus, dude. Here he shoots the horse because the horse isn't getting back up. So, and then he carries her the rest of the way. And then we get the one scene in this film that I wasn't totally happy with. We jump forward 25 years. We get an older Maddie. It's the one from the beginning who is doing the narration, and she's lost her arm.
Yeah,
because
she
they
explains
couldn't.
from the rattlesnake venom.
From the rattlesnake venom, they couldn't save her arm. So she has lost her arm, and she gets a letter from Rooster Cogburn saying he's in a Wild West show, and
in Memphis.
In Memphis, if you want to come visit, although it is a bit of a ways. But she leaves Dardanelle in Yell County and goes to Memphis, and unfortunately misses him by 3 days because he died in his sleep. And she buries him at her family plot. She has his body moved.
Yep.
What is touched upon here and is completely ignored in the 69 version is that Cogburn's a Confederate veteran. Because they do say we buried him in the Confederate grave.
Cemetery, sorry, excuse me.
I suppose if you know your generals, it's touched upon in the 69 version, because Cogburn and LaBeef have it out about who they served under during the war.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
But they don't specifically say which side they fought on. So it's obvious that Cogburn was a Confederate, and LaBeef was Union, because they fought on opposite sides. So, it is, it's touched upon here. It's not like a big deal. They don't make a big deal about it.
You don't know which side Maddie's on.
No. She's in Arkansas, so they don't seem to, they hire workers at their farm. They don't, so this is well after the Civil War, so it's not like that is a big...
So is the part that you don't like that he was a
No, I thought it was odd that they touched upon it here. I'm curious now to actually read the book to see if it was a bit more of a thing in the book.
That would explain the tension between them.
Yeah, it would, yeah. Okay, so looking at the two side by side, the Coen Brothers film is better in just about every way.
Oh, yes. In every way, the Coen film is superior.
I will say the 69 version, I've been reading up a little bit, and Kim Darby was like the 5th or 6th actress that they settled on for Maddie. They had originally settled on Mia Farrow, and I don't think I could have sat through a movie with Mia Farrow, John Wayne, and Glenn Campbell.
Well, she would have just mumbled through.
Yeah, because she's probably about as one note as John Wayne. No, she's not that bad.
She's not that bad. But she doesn't have range. And I don't know that that Maddie Ross in a role needs range. But she needs a little bit more than...
And
she definitely needs somebody that enunciates, and that is not Mia Farrow.
Mia Farrow was coming off Rosemary's Baby. I don't think her playing a 14-year-old would have been quite believable, even though she had that pixie look at the time.
And I don't know how old Kim Darby was at the time.
I think she was 16.
What about Haley? Was she 16?
She was 15.
She was 15, okay.
So, yeah, that it's a believable age for those two actresses. But, yeah, they went through a bunch of different actresses. Mia Farrow dropped out because Robert Mitchum told her, you don't want to work with that director, he's a pain in the ass. So she went to the producers and said, can you switch directors to Roman Polanski? Because she had just worked with him on Rosemary's Baby.
Naivety.
Yeah, and they said no. And apparently this director was a pain in the ass. Kim Darby said she hated him. What is his name? His name is... I
looked it up before we began recording, and I don't have it now.
Boom, 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 boom.
The Mucinex makes me forget everything.
Yeah, that's the... Who directed this? Quick facts. Directed by Hal Wallace. No, Henry Hathaway. Produced by Hal Wallace. Directed by Henry Hathaway. Henry Hathaway apparently was a bastard to work for, and Kim Darby hated him. She had glowing things to say about John Wayne. Which is odd because I've always heard that John Wayne was a bastard in real life, but Kim Darby said she had no problem with John Wayne. She had a lot of problems with the director, who was very cantankerous, to say the least.
I see.
But you don't have that problem in the 2010 version because the Coen brothers don't seem to be all that cantankerous because people just love working for them.
Awesome.
Okay, so, so the Coen brothers film is just better.
Yeah.
I can't say I hate the 69 version. I don't hate it as much as I dislike most John Wayne films. And I think that's probably because of Kim Darby. But it's...
If you want to take a nap, put on True Grit 1969.
But hey, it won John Wayne his Oscar. So there you go.
Well, good for him.
And they made a sequel to that one. They actually made a sequel to True Grit called Rooster Cogburn. Stars John Wayne and Katharine Hepburn, and apparently I have not seen it. From what I understand, it is just a retread of the African Queen, only with horses.
Okay. My small, tiny criticism of the remake is that I think the casting choice for 39-year-old Maddie Ross is off.
Yeah, that last scene was a bit off for me.
I'm okay with the scene itself, but she doesn't have the same passion. And I get that, she doesn't have a direct goal in mind, like the 14-year-old Maddie, but she doesn't speak the same way. And if you're telling this story, I think that you would have some revived passion here.
Yeah.
And you would still speak the same manner.
Yeah, she doesn't. She has more of a drawl, and it's a very slow drawl.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Maddie speaks at a very tight clip.
Yes.
In both movies, it's just very tight, and I just didn't get that from the older Maddie, and the narration at the beginning and the end, it's not terrible. It's not Blade Runner terrible, but I don't know if it was completely necessary. I
think it was to tie in that it is a narration, and to tie in the fact that she's still, looks at this time on her life
as being like a high point.
Yeah.
And I will say, I do like the fact that they dealt with the end of Rooster's life in the 2010 version. You can tell that what she is speaking probably comes direct from the book, because the book is told from Maddie's point of view. So I'm sure they just lifted her dialogue completely out of the book. So 2010 version, all the way.
All the way, yep.
Yeah. So, what are we going to do next?
Well, let me get our handy-dandy list here.
We have added a bunch of stuff to it. So we have 47 on there now?
Yes.
So, randomizing between 1 and 47. 40.
Gloria Bell.
I have not seen either of these films.
I haven't either.
So, this will be interesting. Okay, so Gloria and Gloria Bell.
Yeah.
Next time on...
I think Julianne Moore stars in the remake.
Oh, okay.
Is that ringing a bell? See what I'm doing there?
Well, let's get on our horse partner and mosey on out of this here town.
All right.
I would pull up the horse sound effect again, but you don't need it. We're just riding off into the sunset here. Adios. Oh, that's what LaBeef says. Adios.
But he says adios.
Adios, partners.